this and your growth trajectory, I would love to be a normie. Like, I think I realize I still have to do this because this is helping sell the business. It's goals. Like, there is not a human I know that doesn't use Tower 28. Yeah. I mean, like Kosas, right? Like Sheena, like, but I just think it's all about the superpower. Summer Fridays crushing it. Now, but that's because she's on the exit train. So she's trying to exit, so she has to like be everywhere. This trip she's doing,
Okay.
the trip they're doing right now, Kosas, I was like, it's give me a 3x larger multiple. She has like, every influencer. Yeah, the ENV is going way up.
All right.
Yeah.
So they want us to get started.
Oh, okay.
Corral, everyone.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
Hi,
hello.
everyone.
We're gonna get started. We're super excited for this conversation today about how to build an authentic brand. And we have an incredible panelists. I'm Jhawar, I'm your moderator today. I have an agency called Blended Strategy Group that focuses on bringing brands and pop culture together. But I'm gonna have our panelists each introduce themselves. And I love all three of these women so much, and I'm so excited that I got to be part of this panel because I know all of them personally and have watched them over their careers and the brands that they've built, and am so inspired by them myself. So I'll start it off with Deepica.
Name and just
Like a couple sentences about yourself, your brand.
I got lost in what you were saying.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. I'm Deepica. I have a brand called Live Tinted. The whole idea behind it is that I never saw myself represented in the beauty industry and wanted to create a brand that finally included people who look like me. We have makeup, skincare, and sun care. Yes, I love the hands in the air. And we're at Ulta and Sephora Canada, and it's been a wild ride.
Amazing. Chriselle.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chriselle Lim. I am the founder and creative director of Fleur. Fleur is a modern fine fragrance brand that is inspired by memories, experiences that are intimately personal but universally shared.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Liu, and I'm the CEO and founder of Tower 28. I'm a longtime beauty executive, and I've had eczema my entire adult life. So Tower 28 is basically that. It is products that are not only clean, but safe for sensitive skin. We launched almost 5 years ago, and we are in all Sephora's, US and Canada.
Amazing. Well, I am huge fans of, as I said, these women, but these brands. And I'm really curious, like if there was one single thing from your past, like past experiences you had that you feel like has been most helpful in starting your brand in any way, what that is. I'll start with you, Amy.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about this a little bit in the back, but Cherry was saying that I am what we call like a normie founder.
Normie founder.
And I think
It's way cooler than it sounds.
She can explain it maybe better than I can, but I think the thing that has really helped me in my career is really my career. So I've worked in the industry for over 20 years at this point, and I think it's not just the experience that I gained, but seeing other people make mistakes and learning from them, having myself make mistakes and learning from them, but probably along the way, the biggest thing is just the community that I've built around myself, where a lot of times people will say to me like, oh, Tower 28's this overnight success. And I'm like, actually, I've been doing this for a really long time. And I think you learn from the experiences that you have, but also like you just will never know everything that you need to know. And so you have to put people around you that you can like call. Like I have so many people that I can just call, and that's the thing that I'm probably the most grateful. I think that you guys do a great job of that too, and like building community around you. But ask for help. I think
Can
that's
I just mention something? I remember when I was speaking, it was like years ago, maybe a decade ago. You were in the audience at one point, and like you were just starting your business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty incredible to see how far
I remember
you've
that
gone.
actually. I was at the Riveter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Chriselle, and I guess my experience, for those of you that don't know, I've been an influencer before the term influencer ever existed.
We all know.
We were called bloggers back then, and people still call me a blogger. I'm like, I don't have a blog, guys. I haven't updated my blog since, God, I don't even know when. But anyways, I think I started blogging when I was in college, and I think the idea of being able to express myself, share my experiences, what I was wearing, what I was going through, you know, back then it just felt like a hobby. But I think now that I have Fleur and I'm really just sharing about these emotional experiences through my fragrances, it all really led up to kind of what I was doing for the past 20 years, which was just sharing emotion, being vulnerable, being able to storytell. And I think my experience as a quote-unquote blogger or influencer has allowed me to just share so vulnerably without hesitation and being able to tie story with product. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why Fleur really kind of took off was the storytelling element, because when we first acquired Fleur and we relaunched Fleur 2.5 years ago, our first fragrance was Missing Person, which was a scent that no one has ever smelled before. And so I was like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to sell this online. Typically, when you buy fragrance, you go to a counter, or you see it online or an ad, and then you go to a counter and you smell it, and you determine if you like it or not, and then you'll purchase it, right? So we did not know if we would be able to sell a brand or a fragrance that no one has ever smelled before, because back then we weren't at Sephora. But through the deep storytelling, Missing Person was really inspired by me feeling lonely, going through my divorce, and just feeling like I had this void in my life. And I think a lot of people were able to relate to that, and that it really took off, and it went viral on the internet. And I think it was through my past experiences of being able to tie story with product that really helped me relaunch Fleur.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I've been wanting to do this since I was in my teens. So every kind of piece of my journey was to build this brand. So majoring in marketing in college, then working at a beauty company, and then working at a beauty startup, then becoming a beauty influencer to then start my own beauty brand. It's been like a journey since I was 16 years old. So I don't feel like it's one piece of it. I think it's like a dream turned into a job, turned into a viral video, turned into a company. And every piece of it is why I feel like I'm here today.
Yeah, so I think like just summarizing a couple of the things that I heard from these women and that I think is really important is one is exactly what just Deepica said. There's no one single moment that like defines like this is what prepared me for today. It's not a specific education. It's not a specific career path or job you've had. It's the journey. And so if you're not there yet, if you were like, I thought by 30 years old, I was gonna do X and why am I not able to, or I don't think I'm ready yet. Like there's never a perfect time to be ready, so just trust your instincts and what that is that you want to do. And the second is that there is no perfect background to start a brand. Like you can literally, like Amy, as she says, has like such an incredible resume of experience, and that has helped her to start her brand. Versus someone might say, well, why would someone who is an influencer, like how do they know how to run a business? But like being an influencer and starting off as a blogger is running a business. You have to know how to.
Like I would look at women like this and I'm like, but they have a platform. Like they have immediate ability to influence. I have none of that.
You're a normie.
So I'm a normie, right? So everybody's always looking at somebody else and saying like, well, I can't do it because somebody else has the thing that I need, yes. But none of us have everything.
No. And so to what Amy said, you know, surround yourself with the things that you don't have and amplify that in you. But like every single one of these women, their journey got them to where they are, and they've been entrepreneurs for a long time because if you follow them on social, you've probably seen the lemonade stand that they started when they were 5 and, you know, like the blog that you started in your teens. Like that is a business, that is entrepreneurship. So turning it to questions around, you know, the specifics of your brand. So Deepica, I'm going to turn it back to you. I think, you know, your brand is really centered around representation and showing people who maybe like, there was an early line for your brand, Shades in Between, or and I think a lot of us can feel like we're in between at life, whether it's our skin tone, how we feel amongst people we think are cool versus who we are. And so how do you feel like you're able to, bring that perception into how you do your marketing for your brand?
I think in the beginning it was just natural because it was, the theme of this panel, authentic. I like to say genuine now because I say authentic.
Genuine, incredible.
Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. It just feels so, it was my genuine storytelling. I had a viral video in 2015 using a red lipstick under my eyes on this thing called YouTube. After Blocker, it was the thing called YouTube. And that turned into this whole storytelling thing, similar to like Chriselle. I was like, I'm just gonna tell my authentic story. I have dark circles. I used a red lipstick to mask those dark circles and then share that narrative. And it was cool because there was people from all over the world. It was 10 million views and it was like Brazil, India. And I was like, wow, dark circles is a global problem. This is not just something I'm experiencing. So I think the representation piece is personal to me, but like my dream of Live Tinted and like 10 years is that people are just picking up the products and they fall in love with it and they happen to learn that the mission was around this idea of representation and feel like, wow, I feel so seen and heard by this. But I want to be more of a brand that's more show, not tell. You know what I mean? So you just see it in our marketing campaigns. You see yourself represented in that campaign. But really, when you pick up the products, you know that they were made for you. Like, that's the ultimate dream. But I think when I got started, the idea of representation and the name Live Tinted in itself, I want it to be a mantra. Like anyone of any hue is picking it up and saying, I feel seen from this product. And it just kind of has that beautiful meaning behind it. And it all goes back to my genuine story growing up and not seeing myself.
Absolutely. Authenticity, obviously is a very talked about word, but it is being genuine. It is being credible in your storytelling. And I think, as Deepica said, Live Tinted is a unique brand name because it's an action. Live Tinted. And I think that's like, as she said, it's a mantra, it's a brand, it's everything. Amy, tell us a little bit about like internal team dynamics at a company like Tower 28 and how the diversity of your team influences maybe how you run the business or how you think about marketing.
Yeah, I think that diversity comes in a lot of different shapes and forms, right? So for us, it is everything from, we are predominantly female. I have a team that's grown quite a bit. So we were like 12 people last July. And as of yesterday, we had a girl start this week. So we're 28 this week, which is wild to have grown so much.
And it's like Kismet, Tower 28.
Yeah, it is. I know. We were like, we should give her something.
It's like your angel numbers.
28th employee. I don't know. We did not give her anything, but maybe we should. By the way. But in terms of diversity, like I think the one thing that I always try to tell the team is that the only way that we will get better and the way that this will grow is if we can really reflect all our different perspectives. Because if you only have my perspective reflected in it, like I am, a certain age and I am a woman and I'm a whatever it is, but like if we can have, and I'll give you an example, like there are a few girls on my team who really fanatically believe in sustainability. And I believe in sustainability, but not like I don't compost. I'm not like every day doing those things that same way that they are. And if it wasn't for them being vocal about it, it was when they said, hey, what are we doing in terms of like the planet aware side of things? And because of them, we were like, okay, then let's start doing more of this. We switched everything to a minimum of 50% recycled plastic. We started, we donate to Heal the Bay. My husband's now on the board of Heal the Bay. We are doing another Earth Day thing with them this year. I think it requires, the point of diversity really is so that you have voices in the room that are really reflecting what is happening in society and where things need to go. And there is no one solution to anything, right? So I really believe in giving people voice, giving the unheard the opportunity to like put their voice in something, and it's not just me. So I think I look for people who have a perspective, who have a point of view, are willing to share it. I really try to make sure that as an organization, we're as flat as can be when it comes to those types of things, because I think that's the way that we actually get better at anything. So yeah, that's how I think of diversity.
Absolutely. I think that touches on a lot of things we were talking about backstage, together, and everything that and that I really want to hit home is that a lot of times people just pinpoint diversity as only skin tone inclusion, but diversity, as Amy says, comes in so many different ways. It's gender, it's age, it's skin tone, of course. It's how you think. It's, as she said, the planet awareness or sustainability sort of aspects of things. It can come in sort of other aspects of how you've been able to, how you've lived your life, maybe in family dynamics, and a different perspective you can bring to the table because of the way you were raised. Maybe you grew up internationally versus in the United States. So think about that, because it has become very commonplace, and for me personally, it's one of those things that I'm just like, okay, wow, diversity has become a conversation topic, and that's amazing that it is, but it's almost now like, oh, this is the strategy, and we've checked the box, so we've hit the strategy, but have you really, are you embodying that strategy? And Chriselle, I think you had some really incredible things you said backstage that I'm not sure if you even remember, because you were literally just speaking from the heart about how you think about that within the team at Fleur and how you think about that in communicating your brand messaging. And I'd love for you to share some of that.
Yeah, we were talking backstage, and we got seated the questions before, and I was like, I wish I had a deeper strategy to talk about, but I don't, because I just do what feels right to me, and what feels like represents me, and what represents my team. And so we were talking, and she was like, well, that's what you should say. That's exactly what people need to hear, is that just because you have a strategy saying oh, we're gonna have this percentage of people, whether it's, skin tone or age or ethnicity, you could check off that box, but does it actually live within your core? And I think it really comes from the top as far as leadership of wanting to, whatever you're passionate about, whether it's serving the larger community of your culture, or of a community, or a certain sustainability program, and go out there and actually serve, right? Tomorrow, I'm doing a little thing at USC for the AAPI community, and no one is really doing it for any other reason but just to serve the community, and there's no bigger purpose beyond that. And I think it just you just have to have the heart for it and the want for it, without just being let's just create a strategy and then we check the box. So that's what we were talking about backstage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's critically important. This isn't strategy anymore. This is way of life. This is way of doing business. And we have to embody that. Otherwise, the company's not, never going to succeed. The people can see through it too clearly.
But by the way, I think that's why it's also so important that we have founders like this that are coming from different backgrounds, that are people of color, that represent different walks of life, really, because that is just the way that you see the world and the way it should be.
You're absolutely right, Amy. I mean, I think, one of the things that I've seen Deepica do such a great job with, and as a South Asian myself, and I think any of us on this panel right here might be in the audience, if you're a child of an immigrant family, we went through a lot of what Deepica so authentically shares on her platforms about embarrassment maybe we had of our parents growing up, because of broken English and accents or what they wore. And I am so inspired by what you do, Deepica, and that, because it's hopefully helping a future generation not do what I did to my parents in terms of being so mean to them, be like, don't come out of the car. I'm just gonna get in the car, and so that no one sees you in your weird clothes and stuff. And so I'd love to hear more about now I'm just going off script, sorry. What inspired you to feel like you wanted to share that?
I think maybe a little bit of guilt, honestly. I was off. I feel when I think back to how I was with my parents, literally the immigrant narrative of coming here with nothing. And I think so many of us can relate to that feeling of, I feel so grateful for everything they've done now. And you don't realize that as a teenager when you're trying to sneak out of the house and you get caught and then you're grounded and all these things. That did happen to me. And so I feel like now as an adult, I have so much more perspective around the hours my dad worked to get me that Abercrombie and Fitch shirt that I cared about at the time. And so I think for me now as an adult, I'm like, how can I, if I have this platform, how can I help at least like one young girl out there just be kinder to your parents while they're around, right? Like, I mean, that's a whole emotional conversation we can have. But I just feel like, yeah, like time is so precious. And now I'm like, if I have this platform, I hope that there's young people out there looking at it and saying like, my parents are way cooler than I give them credit for.
And I think what's so important about this is it goes back to what Chriselle was saying about storytelling, right? Like how, like what does that have to do with selling makeup? Nothing. Like it sounds like nothing, right? Like I'm not gonna buy a foundation or a skin tint because Deepica's now nice to her parents or telling you to be nice to her parents, but I'm connecting with her. I'm relating to her. I want to learn more about what she's talking about, the same way when Chriselle was so vulnerable and talking about such an incredibly pivotal moment in her life. We were all drawn into that story that we could almost sniff the fragrance through Instagram, like without sniffing the fragrance. It was wild. Like it was a scratch and sniff storytelling campaign.
I feel like with the SPF, right, that's a great example of like a story I shared was that I literally hid under an umbrella my whole life to hide from the sun because I was terrified of coming home. I have a memory of coming home and my mom crying because I came home like 10 shades darker.
Definitely.
And so
they would invent like scrubs to like wipe the sun off us.
Exactly. And so I think that was a story that's like very tangibly sharing with somebody. This is why I created an SPF that doesn't leave a white cast, because there is this narrative in my mom's head of darker is not as beautiful because of colorism and what she was taught growing up in India and things like that. So I think that was a relatable story that connected with so many people from so many different backgrounds that did end up help selling and becoming one of our best-selling products. But it was just genuine.
Yeah, and I think like, and now I'm gonna sort of shift into this normie versus celebrity influencer brand conversation, because even Amy, who's the normie of the group, like was so able to authentically storytell that became so relatable and created, you know, an iconic product in the SOS spray because of her experience with eczema and sensitive skin, and something that like you needed to like, you know, something that was so helpful for people like that. Then even if you don't have it, it's not gonna hurt you, it's gonna only help you. So everyone just wants that spray. And so let's talk about the celebrity influencer founder. I mean, I think we all know how that's defined. It's someone who has a platform and has, you know, has had built a public persona of some sort prior to starting their brand. And then there's the normie, who is someone who didn't have that public persona beforehand and has created a brand. The crazy thing is the celebrity influencer obviously is now an entrepreneur, a business person, in the same way. They're all on the equal playing field and same playing field of all the business challenges they have to go through. And the normie, especially brands that become as iconic as a Tower 28 and what Amy has created, become influencers in their own right. It's a different type of influencer, but they have a following. People know who they are. People are inspired by them in so many ways. And so I want to talk about a little bit, you know, have you, Chriselle and Deepica, share like how you balance the building of your personal brand with, you know, the building of your product brand. Obviously there's overlap, but there's also, you know, a lot of demands on your schedule, and so how you guys balance that. And then Amy, when we, after we hear on that side, when it comes to you, like how this has affected sort of like, oh wow, now I might have to actually think about my personal social media a little differently, you know, when there's so many platforms today, and you know, how you've sort of brought that into what you do.
Yeah, so I felt like we had all these conversations backstage. So we were talking about it backstage, all three of us, as, you know, balancing out personal brand versus your actual brand. And for me, I believe that you can't have it all. Something has to give at some point, right? And so if you've been following me for a long time, you know that I've been a content machine for almost 15 years now. But although I do post content, it's not as much as I used to, because now I'm really focused on the brand. And now it's really about, okay, how do we kind of blend the two together? So it's not like there's Chriselle, the influencer, and there's Chriselle, Fleur, the brand. They're two separate people. And when I first started Fleur, it was kind of like that, and it just didn't feel right. There was something wrong about that. So in the last 2 years, I've really developed on how do I create this like harmonious one brand. And I think we have done that through the storytelling of the fragrances. And again, it was just me being a storyteller by heart. And I said, okay, how can I share kind of my life experiences and kind of all the things that I've gone through these scents and these fragrances, and just be able to create content out of that as well. And as you mentioned, you're like, it doesn't necessarily directly tie to the product, right? Like I talked a lot about my divorce because that's when I actually started Fleur. I was going through my divorce, but at that time I was like, I was craving love. I was craving, comfort. And so I was like, how do we package this into a scent? And through that story, not everyone was going through a divorce, but a lot of people were craving love in their life. A lot of people were craving comfort. It was just post-pandemic. People were feeling a little unstable, right? And so, I always laugh. We did the opposite of what most fragrance companies do. Most fragrance companies, they put like Natalie Portman on a horse, like, selling the dream, like going through the garden in slow motion. But for us, we packaged up, okay, like this is depression, anxiety, this is uncomfortable, this is missing person, would you like to buy it? And I don't know how to do anything but be authentic, and that was what I was going through in my personal life. And I think because of that, people felt so seen and heard, and they were like, that's me too. And so they were, although they don't know how it smelled, they're like, okay, because I see myself in her story, I'm curious. I don't know if I'm gonna like the fragrance, but I'm curious to test out how it smells. So I feel like the lines have blurred a lot with my personal brand and my actual brand.
Yeah. I feel like what Amy said about the grass is greener thing is so real in my situation because, like you were saying, I think Amy is the biggest influencer in my life right now because I go to her all the time for business advice.
You do.
Like all the time, because I think like what she's built with Tower 28 is so incredible. And I think it's interesting. I mean, going from following Chriselle to then following Amy's business journey, it is grass is greener because yes, I recognize the privilege that I have a platform and it helps sell the product, but it's also a distraction from running the day-to-day business. And I think that is the reality. Chriselle said it best. It's like, you can't do everything. And I was going a little crazy trying to do everything. I was trying to post the content regularly while trying to maintain a team and raise money, get retailer meetings. I mean, the list could go on and on, right? So something had to give. And so eventually I ended up hiring you. Then you have a team in place. And then you're like, okay, you know what? I can go back to doing my influencer thing. But I had to choose, and I chose leaning deep into the business. I kind of paused on doing my influencer stuff. At least it felt like that to me. Last year I pulled away, but then I hired a president, and now she runs the day-to-day operations and she runs the team. I'm still the founder. I still focus on product packaging and marketing, and all final approvals go through me. But it's nice that 5 years later I can structure the business where I can do the things I enjoy doing. And I love doing the influencer stuff. I love doing the storytelling, but doing both is a lot. And I think that's something everyone can relate to, because when you start a business, you're doing everything.
I just want to quickly stop you from saying the word privilege, though. You don't have the privilege of having a community. You've built it. You've earned that. So you've created that. And I think that's something you should give yourself credit for, both of you. So obviously I have a very different situation, but I think the through line with all of it is that if you use your voice and people can relate to it, it can be very effective. For me, I think a lot of people can probably relate to being a normie. Right? So I have a really traditional linear background. I went to college. I went to business school. My only job outside of beauty was at a management consulting company. And then I have been in beauty in corporate jobs the entire time. So for me, actually, the thing that was really hard for me in terms of the transition was I felt like I was really good at being a number two. I felt like I was really good at telling somebody else's story. I wrote other people's speeches. I answered all their PR. Like I did marketing for other founders, really, and other indie founded brands. And so like to step into it myself was actually a really difficult thing. And there's a reason why this is not named like Amy Lou Cosmetics. Like that was not even an option for me. And it was a conscious decision. And in the beginning, I actually really didn't put myself face forward because I thought, oh, like I'm a normie. Nobody cares, right? And also I think the other thing that really I thought about is the fact that, so Tower 20 is named after a lifeguard tower at the intersection of Santa Monica and Venice. And the idea has always been that, to me, it's this symbol of being a meeting place, but also this place where everybody gets to enjoy a clean and healthy lifestyle and it's safe. And so it was easier for me to tell a story around something that wasn't me, and also because I'm Asian American. I was born in Minnesota and I grew up in LA. Like, I am really Asian American as opposed to being, like, if I had started a brand like Tatcha, that would actually be really not very authentic. So like, I'm not gonna start a brand that is based in like TCM or something like that, because that's actually not who I am or what I know a lot about. But I felt really awkward having this like beachy brand and then I look like this initially, right? Because I'm not blonde with blue, you know, blue eyes or whatever it is. And so it's been this process for me to think about like, okay, well, how do I step into the world, and what is not only, but ultimately the answer is always going to be whatever is authentic, right? So the truth of it is, like, you will almost never see me do a get ready with me because I don't like to. I'm not a makeup artist. That's not what I feel like I'm good at. I'm not gonna create a bunch of content like direct to camera, but I actually really like doing this kind of thing. I like being on panels. I like the idea that hopefully anything that we are saying here might turn on a light bulb in someone out here who also wants to start a brand and do, you know, the next thing. And this is kind of where I'm comfortable. So I think all of you, if the takeaway should be like, whatever your story is the one that you should tell. I really do believe in collaboration over competition. And like, I think if all of us help each other, like, I don't even remember the saying, tides rise.
Yeah, the ships rise together.
What is that saying? I'm not good at the saying. But I really do believe that. And I think like if we think about how different, like again, I've worked in the industry for a long time. The industry was so different in like at the beginning of my career as it is now. Never mind that there were not women of color. There weren't women at all in the highest positions in beauty, right? And I think the fact that we are in a position to make decisions to hire people that look like us, to put out campaigns that like speak to our values, that is really an impactful thing, and we need to just support each other.
Absolutely. So we're at time. I'm just gonna close it. And thank you guys so much. I mean, I'm so inspired by all of you guys. I'm in the beginnings of starting my own brand, so I'm gonna take lessons from all of you. And if there was one product that you would want people in this audience to try from your brand, like that you feel like is just so representative of like once they try that, there's a rare chance they would not fall in love with it, I wanna give you guys the opportunity to say what that is, and we'll close it out with that.
I'll start.
Yeah.
SOS spray, we named it SOS because it really did save my skin. It's an antibacterial, anti-inflammatory spray, and it really is our #1 selling product.
Fleur's missing person. I think you guys are all getting one in the goodie bag, so.
Amazing.
We just launched our Hue Guard skin tint. It's a mineral SPF 50 skin tint that's water resistant, and it's changing our whole business. It launched very recently, and we always said that this would be the product that would change the business, and it's actually happening. So go try it out. It's amazing.
Amazing. Well, thank you, ladies, for your time today. Thank you, everyone, for listening.